Hi guys, I'm Sarah, and I was sent to a troubled teen industry abusive institution called Spring Creek Lodge Academy in Montana, Thompson Falls, when I was 17, like a month after I turned 17. So the story is, I had run away and I was selling and doing drugs and, being promiscuous, and I dropped out of school, high school. I was a troubled teen for sure, don't get me wrong. I also grew up in a pretty dysfunctional family, to say the least. Anyhow, so basically, I was about to clock into my job at McDonald's, and right as I was about to open the door, these two people ambushed me and kidnapped me. The guy, there's a man and a woman, I think, and I remember him saying, "Do you want to do this the easy way or the hard way?" And he had some handcuffs, right? And he was showing me those. He also flashed me a fake badge too, so I thought they were law enforcement. But anyway, so I get in the van with them, and in my work uniform and everything, and my mom's in the back crying, and I'm just like, oh God, Mom ratted me out, right? But basically, so in these places, they really deceive your parents. They advertise it to look like it's some really helpful therapeutic place. It's a behavior modification program, which behavioralism is basically operant conditioning, training an animal, rewards and punishments, very authoritarian, very strict, high control. In reality, it's a cult, but and they are using mind control, absolutely. The seminars that they make us go through are using hypnosis. They're using NLP. I'll get into that later. But anyway, so so I had to be in the van, handcuffed, driven 9 hours to Montana from where I was. No warning, nothing, just out of nowhere, kidnapped against my will. Anyway, so when I got there, it was the middle of the night and everything was dark. And I threw up on myself the whole way there too, because I was so stressed out, and they wouldn't tell me where I was going. They wouldn't, it was just awful. It was really traumatizing. But anyhow, so I get there in the middle of the night. They're doing my intake. They take all my stuff, every single thing I owned, the cell phone, keys, wallet, everything, confiscate it. And they make you strip down naked, stand behind a towel that they're holding up, and jump, and then they have you squat down, spread your ass cheeks, cough, check in cavity search, whatever. But really, I think it's just for humiliation and shaming purposes, because, when would I have had time to do that? They were with me the whole time, the transporters. But anyhow, so then you go and they make you go in the shower. They give you your uniforms. They're butt ugly, khaki, maroon, ugh. And there's someone standing right out the shower too. One of the staff people is standing right there as you're showering. It's really awkward and uncomfortable. Anyhow, I didn't know how long I would be there. I was there for 11 and a half months because I turned 18, and here's another thing too. So the school they have there, since everyone's at a different place educationally, they just pretty much give you a textbook to work out of. And my parents, I told them I'm not going to stay and finish this program. I'm going to leave. Usually they give you an exit plan for if you turn 18 before you finish the program to incentivize you to stay and convince your parents to keep you to stay there. And my parents just said, well, as long as you finish high school, whatever, we'll come get you. So I stayed an extra 2 weeks past my 18th birthday. Come to find out later, my high school diploma was actually illegitimate because they weren't even accredited anyways. It was just fraudulent. The therapists that they had there were not actually therapists. They didn't have degrees or nothing. They were, so every day we'd have to do attack therapy, which, well, they didn't call it that, but that's what it was. Basically, we had group for an hour and a half, and the family representative lady, who was a super bitch from hell, basically would just go around and force us to share something personal about ourselves, emotionally relevant, some traumatic thing that happened to you, which a lot of the people that were there, they were there because they had problems, because abuse situations, right? Myself included. So, she'd force you to share something. then pretty much she would attack you and berate you, insult you, and put you down, call you all kinds of names, humiliate you, shame you, do all this mean shit, and then encourage everybody else to go around and give you feedback, which is basically you're supposed to go attack that person too. Every single day when I was 17 for a year. Yeah. Think about like Erickson's 8 stages of development or whatever. Like at that age, you're going through identity versus role confusion. So your identity is forming. You're like trying to figure out who you are as a person, you know, and you're trying to like make sense of what your place is in the world. So every day to be subjected to that shit, I mean, they claim to help your confidence and self-esteem. Get real. They completely annihilate it. But that's part of the brainwashing. See, they break you down to build you back up in the way that they want you to be. Programized. They have their doctrine, they have their loaded language, they, you know, are constantly impressing these messages on you. And one of the biggest messages that they do, they really advocate for this. They make you like basically take accountability for anything bad that ever happened to you. Victim blaming is what it is. So like, for example, I was sexually abused by my friend's stepdad when I was like 15. And in one of the seminars and stuff, first of all, they make you do a confession letter. So forced confessions, that's cult, right? So yeah, and I read this in this book here, which is what actually, I'll get into this later, but this is a really good one. But they make you take accountability for putting yourself in that position. So a 15-year-old who's being groomed since like 3rd grade by her friend's stepdad, who's a child molesting pervert, somehow that's the teenager's fault. What? Like, like that's crazy. But you know what? Because of the brainwashing, I walked around for about a decade thinking it was true, having all this unnecessary, inappropriate shame and guilt over something that was like, it happened to me. It wasn't, I was the victim in the situation, right? But I didn't believe that because they had brainwashed me. So until I read this book, they would use the same exact phrasing on multiple, like it was systematic. It was just the way they approached it. So, yeah, I read that line in there. I was like, hey, they said that to me too, you know? And it finally dawned on me that, wait a minute. Oh, it wasn't my fault, was it? Hold on, you know? But, yeah, other things that they did. So we weren't allowed to talk all fucking day, like, except for 30 minutes. 30 freaking minutes. All the whole rest of the day you're on silence. No talking or you get in trouble. They would have an isolation room called the Hobbit, which is like this little cement building that's tiny. It's like got blood and piss and shit on the walls. And basically just some Montana hillbilly would stand there and watch you. You know, I went to Worksheets, which was their other one, which is like this other cabin that's not quite as bad as the Hobbit, but like you sit there and they play these stupid brainwash tapes. I think it's called psychic driving. Anyways, yeah, and the guy would just like stare and leer at you while you did jumping jacks and like wrote a bunch of stuff down on paper. I don't remember what we were writing, but we were just in a little cubicle just for hours. Even when, like, forced labor, let's talk about forced labor. So, like, all the cleaning that we had to do, and when we worked in the kitchen, they'd wake us up at, like, 3 in the morning. We'd be there 14-hour days on our feet, like, hardly any breaks at all. And, like, not allowed to even look at the boys. Not allowed to look with your eyes at a person. Not allowed to look out the window, because that was considered to be run plans. You're trapped in a cabin all day long, locked in, held hostage, captive against your will. And if you glance out the window at a green tree, like nature or something, like just to feel not so suicidally depressed, then you would get a Cat 4 consequence. Category 4 is like you lose all your points. This is point system, right? Levels. So it's like, you know, a token economy. Yeah, and you weren't allowed to talk to your parents. You weren't allowed to talk to anybody. Your mail was all censored. Like, if you were to try to write to your parents and say, Mom, get me out of here, they're freaking abusive and crazy. You know, they're treating me terribly here. they just throw it away. They wouldn't send it. So, and there's no access to a phone. When you finally do get to make a phone call when you're like 3 months in or whatever, it's being monitored. You're sitting right next to that bitch that I was telling you guys about, the family rep. She's sitting right there ready to click hang up on you if you say anything, if you say a word. Oh, let me tell you about my first night there. So after the search and everything, so I go up, they assigned me a top bunk. So I climb up this squeaky metal bunk in this cabin, and I'm just like trying to cry myself to sleep, right? Because I'm like, what the hell is this place? But anyhow, everyone else is crying too, and I was like, I wonder why everyone's crying. So I put my little head over the edge. I'm just like, I asked the girl down below that was in tears, and I was just like, why are you guys all crying, you know? And there's a night staff there, so I had to wait till she was like preoccupied with something. They watch you sleep all night. There's lights on all night long, every night. But anyhow, that's besides the point. But I was like, why are you guys all crying? And she said, oh, someone just hung themselves in the bathroom stall yesterday. And I was like, what the fuck is this place? Like, what? And none of us were allowed to mention her name. It was Carly Newman. So tragic. Nobody was allowed to tell their parents that someone had died. Nobody was allowed to talk about it at all. Just act like it never happened. It was completely forbidden to even mention it. How traumatizing, and like, I didn't know that person, but like, I mean, just the fact that that happened and nobody was allowed to even mention it is like just sick. They would tell our parents that to expect us to try to manipulate and lie and say that we're being abused and stuff, and not to believe us because we're just trying to get out of the program because we just want to go home. I love my parents, but what kind of a dumbass doesn't see the obvious red flag there? Anyway. Oh, I got scabies when I was there. That was fun. Anyways, yeah, anytime you were sick and you needed to like go on sick bed is what they called it, where you'd like, you know, just lay there and sleep and try to get well, they would scream at you and be like, stop manipulating. Oh man, if anyone calls me a manipulator these days, or like say I'm manipulative, it feels like someone's calling me the N-word, because that's what they would use that word to like slander us all the time. They'd call us liars. They'd call us just the worst derogatory. They were so verbally abusive there. It's not even funny. Emotionally abusive, psychologically abusive, and physically. I personally wasn't physically abused there, but I would watch very regularly other girls, you know, they would use totally excessive force, like slam them to the ground if they weren't cooperating, you know, like against the wall, carry them away, like bear choking them out with their arms and stuff. This is traumatizing and feels very unsafe to be around, like when you're witnessing your friends and stuff, your peers being assaulted around you a lot. And sexual abuse too. I wasn't sexually abused. Well, actually, I mean, covertly, I guess. They had these things called panty checks they would do. I thought about this the other day. I was like, wait a minute, that was fucked up. But yeah, we'd always have to stand in line, heel toe, butt to gut, like linked arms with your buddy, totally invasion of boundaries, like super awkward. March in line, like with your feet going at the same rhythm, you know, like military style, from when we go like from the cabin to the classroom. Yeah, and so like this one girl got caught not wearing any underwear, right? And so they first of all gave her like the worst infraction called the Cat 5, infectious control. Like how shaming and humiliating is that? Derogatory. And so after that, they would have us stand in line there, pull at our freaking strap of our pants, you know, so they could look down our pants and make sure we're wearing underwear. Yeah, that's not fucking normal. That's gross. That's pervy. But anyways, they did that for a couple weeks. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so like the soccer coach, I was on the soccer team for a while. All of us kind of knew that him and one of the girls, I won't mention names, but was having a relationship because they disappear in the room and do whatever. And she was being sexually abused by him. Also, one of my friends that was there told me one of the junior staff family dads or whatever was harassing her sexually too. Let's see, what else did I witness? I had to watch this one girl share in their attack therapy group. She was telling about how her dad molested her when she was a little kid, and the fucking bitch, family rep, was like, "You're lying!" And you could just see on her face like how devastated she was. It was horrible to watch. Like, it was secondhand trauma to watch that kind of invalidation happen, be forced to share about something horrible like that, and then to have it used against you and weaponized. Like, psychological torture of children is what it was, really. And when I got out of there, I didn't know what, like, depersonalization, derealization, dissociation, I didn't know what that stuff was back then. I just called it, I was in a brain fog. But, like, I remember going home, and I was just scared to do anything wrong, because even though I was 18, and technically I was an adult, so I couldn't get sent back against my will, but, I mean, I would have never thought that a place like this existed in America, the supposed land of the free. I thought I had rights, freedom of speech. I thought that I had protections and that there was, you know, policies and stuff in place to be able to make sure something like this wouldn't happen legally. But there it is. So I was honestly afraid I'd get sent back. So I was just terrified and just trying to go through the motions, do what my parents say, you know, be really careful. I was totally dissociated. Like, looking back on it, I remember talking to my friend when I got back, and I felt like I had, like, tunnel vision, kind of, and like I was talking to her from inside of a cave. Like, there was like I felt detached from reality, and I experienced dissociative symptoms now, and CPTSD, panic disorder, anxiety, substance abuse. Struggled with that for a long time. These places don't help anybody, and the people that say that they saved their life, and they will say that exact same line, "It saved my life. I would have been dead in a year had I not been sent to this WASP program." It's the brainwashing, folks. It's Stockholm syndrome. Understand that they have been brainwashed. This is the programming. This is what their mind control is installing into their heads, is that it saved my life and it helped me. And you're taught to, like, totally degrade the person that you were before. They stomp out your identity, your newly forming teenage identity. They stomp it out and replace it with the program. It's ran by the place I was at, Spring Creek Lodge Academy. I was there from 2005 to 2006. Like I said, 11 and a half months. I just turned 17. These two people that own it, Cameron Pullen, Chafin Pullen, they're these fat fuck Mormon dudes that are, like, cult brainwashing everybody, making all this money off of their parents, deceiving their parents, lying to them, abusing their kids, getting rich. And it's fucking disgusting. Paris Hilton is my hero because she actually made a documentary called This is Paris, free on YouTube. And it talks about her life, and it also, she tells us about when she was in Provo Canyon School, which is based out of Utah, same people, same freaking association of networks, whatever, same exact style of crap. But yeah, so she has major PTSD from it too, and I just really look up to her and appreciate her for starting the whole breaking, well, she didn't start it, but she really helped to push it forward, the Breaking Code Silence movement, where people are speaking out. Obviously my voice is really squeaky right now, so I might redo this video, but, like, I couldn't not make one at this point. People are speaking out. This is the time to do it. If you're thinking about speaking out, but you're, like, too chicken to, or, like, too nervous, I'm really nervous too. We're all nervous to do it. But the more of us that speak out, the more people will notice and pay attention. And it's not a small, isolated incident. This is across the nation. This is, like, all the way across America for decades. And they'll get shut down. Sometimes if they get too many allegations of abuse, too many lawsuits filed against them, they'll shut one place down, one facility. They will just reopen in another state or in a different location. Sometimes not even a different location. Sometimes the same place. Same staff, same practices, same owners. They'll just change the name. They don't go to jail. They don't go to prison. They get away with it because they're corrupt. Our government is really corrupt, and they're well aware of it. They just benefit from it. So, I mean, my parents paid 40 grand to send me there. Yeah, so if you're a parent and your kid is out of control, troubled teen, acting out, being defiant, rebellious, whatever, if you don't like their drug use, if you don't like their behaviors, whatever, do not, I mean, I repeat, do not send them to a fucking program. They will get more fucked up there and come out with CPTSD than they were when they went in. Guarantee that. It's just abuse. Punishments, there's no such thing as tough love. It's called a tough love approach. Bullshit. No such thing. That's doublespeak. That's the euphemism for abuse. That's pretty much what caused the problem in a lot of cases in the first place. So applying more is not going to help. They need legitimate therapy, legitimate counseling and mental health services, and legitimate drug treatment or alcohol treatment. And I'm not talking about AA. That's a cult too, but that's a different story. Anyways, so thanks for listening to my story. And I'm Sarah, and I'm breaking code silence.